Hello everybody, in this video I would like to answer a question about the full absorption costing approach, or what we call it the traditional approach. Let's read the question together. A factory manufactures dining tables. The production process is classified into two production departments, assembly and joinery. There is one service department, the canteen. The factory uses the full absorption costing approach. The relevant forecast information for the year ahead is as follows. First, the production overhead costs for all the three departments in total. We have 5 items: the indirect labor, indirect material, rent and rates, depreciation, and power. We have the total, and we have as well the apportionment basis. For indirect labor, we have number of employees. For indirect material, we have direct material. For the rent and rates, we have floor space. For depreciation, we have book value of machinery. Power, we have kilowatt hours of power. The following information is available about each department. We have some information that help you to apportion those indirect costs. We have floor space, we have book value of machinery, number of employees, kilowatt hours, direct material, direct labor, maintenance hour, and labor hours. As well, the canteen is used by both production cost centers. The requirement, we have 4 requirements in this question. First, apportion the production overhead costs over the assembly, joinery, and canteen department. Second, apportion the service department cost over the production department using the number of employees as a basis. 3, for each production department, calculate an overhead cost rate. As I mentioned before, just if I mention the overhead cost rate, you need to do A and B plus C. So for each production department, calculate an overhead cost rate based on labor hour, which may be used to absorb the production overhead cost into jobs. Calculate the overhead cost for a job which spends 12 labor hours in the assembly department and 16 hours in the joinery department. Let's answer this question. First, we have to design our table. So the table here, we have the assembly, joinery, canteen, and total. As I mentioned before, you can add the total at the end or just before assembly or the first cost center, as you like. Then we have here 5 items: indirect labor, indirect material, rent and rates, depreciation, and power. So I will add all of them here. This is first step. Then I have to apportion the total cost of each one of those over the 2 production cost center and the service cost center. Let's start with the first one, the indirect labor. The total is 540. Let's take all of them together, the total of each one. So I will write all of them in the total column. This is just to save time. And let's start with the first one. The first one is indirect labor. We need to apportion the 540 over the 3 cost center. What is the apportionment basis that I will use? It's written here. For indirect labor, it's number of employees. So I will go to my Excel file because I don't have a calculator, and I will try to do this by myself. So we have the 5 indirect costs. Here, the total of all of them. What I will do, I will start with indirect labor. As mentioned in the question, the apportionment basis for indirect labor is number of employees. I have as well the total, so I will just write this for myself again. Then number of employees for assembly, joinery, and canteen are 320 for assembly, 240 for joinery, 40 for canteen. So I will take this and just go to my Excel file and just write those. Then the total of all of that should be 600. What I will do now for assembly, it should be the 540, the total of indirect labor that we have in the questions, times 320, the total number of employees of assembly, divided by the whole total of number of employees, which is 600. So this should be equal 288,000 pounds. I will repeat this for joinery again. So just take a copy and paste. So here it should be the 540 times 240 divided by 600, and so on for the last one, which is the canteen. So it should be 540 times 40 employees for the canteen divided by the total number of employees, which is 600. So this should be equal 36,000 pounds. Now I have this, so I will just go to my table. You can do this, use your calculator, and just I will insert this here. So 288, 216, and then 36,000 pounds. I will repeat this for the indirect material, rent and rates, depreciation, and power, using those costs and as well this table, which help you to apportion the total cost of each item. Let's have a look at the indirect material. In direct materials, the apportion basis is direct material. It's 324. This is the total cost. And direct material here in this table is 400 and 200. We don't have anything for canteen. So I will go to my Excel file and repeat the steps. So direct material, we have 400, 200, the total is 600. Here the total cost that I would like to apportion is 324. So again, just the same equation. So what I will do is 324,000 pounds times 400,000 pounds divided by the total 600,000 pounds. So this should be equal 216. The second one will be 108, again 324 times 200 divided by 600. And the last one will be equal 0. I have to do the same, so I'll just take this copy and paste and return to my table and just insert all of that. So now I should do the same for each item. So I have rent and rate. I will repeat this. Rent and rate will be floor space. So I will repeat this again. So if I go to my Excel file, just to save your time, this is all of them together. I answered this for you. So here, and the costs again, just take a copy and paste, will give me the right answer of each one of them. Then I will write these figures in my table. Then get the total of all of that. So the total now will be, for the first one, the assembly, 784,000 pounds. For the second one, the joinery, all of these figures, 589,600. For the third one, it's 78,400. The total is 1,452,000. Now I finished the first requirement. What is the second requirement? Apportion the service department, which is the canteen, over the production department using the number of employees as a basis. So how can I do this? Here we have 78,400. He mentioned that I should use number of employees. Again, just to repeat the steps. So 78,400, this should be in negative sign. Why in negative sign? Because I would like to remove this cost, or to apportion this cost over assembly and joinery. The basis that I will use is number of employees. Number of employees that I have is 320 and 240. So how to do this? Again, your calculator, 78,400 times 320 divided by the total of 320 and 240, which in that case should be equal 560. So this should be equal for the assembly 44,800 and for joinery 33,600. For those who would like to see this in the Excel file, again, the total here that we have, so we have number of employees, this is 320, and the other one, joinery, 240, and the total is 560. Take care, it's not 600, because now we remove the canteen, the number of employees, which is 40. So now what we have is 78,400, the canteen, times 320 divided by 560. So this should be equal 44,800. The same for the second one, 78,400 times 240 divided by 560 employees. So in total, this should be equal 33,600. So if I would like to get the total of both of them, this should be equal 78,400. Now I finished the requirement of number 2. Let's move to number 3. Number 3 is the overhead cost rate. So how to calculate the overhead cost rate? Mentioned that we use labor hours. So how many hours do we have for each cost center? For the assembly, joinery. Now we have to ignore canteen because we already apportioned the total cost of canteen over joinery and the assembly. How many hours I have? It's written here in the last row, which is 50,560 hours, and for joinery it's 33,600. So I will write both of them here. This should be the direct labor hours, 50,560 and 33,600. By the way, I need to get the total as well. So the total here will be 784 plus 44,800 that coming from canteen department should be equal 828,800 pounds. The second one is 623,200 pounds. So in total, this is 1,452,000. Direct labor hours is 50,560 and the second one 33,600 hours. So to get the overhead rate will be equal 828 divided by 50. So this is equal £16.39 per hour. And the second one will be £18.55 per hour. This is the overhead rate, or what we call it, the absorption rate. The last step, the last requirement is calculate the overhead cost of a job, which is spent 12 labor hours in the assembly department and 16 hours in the joinery department. So here, So this is very easy to calculate. Why? Because I have the number of hours, which is 12 labor hours in the assembly department and 16 hours in the joinery department. So just times the £16.39 and the £18.55. So the last one here for the assembly will be £16.39. This is the cost per hour times the number of hours, which is 12. And for the second one will be £18.55, the cost per hour times the number of hours, which is 16. So this is the total overhead cost, which is 493.48. This is the full answer of the question. Please try to repeat this again and try to see whether your answer is correct or not. Thank you.